My sister offered me $250,000 to be her surrogate, but only if I slept with her husband. You know that moment when something sounds too good to be true? That was exactly what I felt the day my sister Jessica sat me down at her perfect suburban home in Austin, Texas. Her husband Ryan was there too, sitting quietly, giving me this odd little smile that I should have paid more attention to. I thought it was just a regular family visit. I had driven down after work from my tiny apartment, expecting one of Jessica's usual passive-aggressive family dinners. But this time, it was different. Jessica cut straight to it. "We have a proposal for you," she said. I raised an eyebrow, suspicious but curious. "A proposal?" "Yes. Ryan and I have been trying for a baby for the past 3 years. You know that already." I nodded. Of course I knew. Every family gathering included long conversations about fertility treatments, her pain, her frustration, how God was testing them. "Well," Jessica continued, "we've talked about surrogacy. And after praying on it, we want you to be our surrogate." My jaw almost hit the floor. Me? Yes. Who better than my own sister? Someone who shares my DNA, my bloodline. The baby would practically be ours from both sides. Ryan finally chimed in, voice calm, like he'd rehearsed this speech. "We trust you more than any stranger. This way, we keep it all in the family." I sat there frozen, not knowing how to respond. "But why me?" "I mean, there are professional surrogates. Agencies that handle everything." Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. Jessica shook her head, like I had missed the entire point. "Those people don't care about us. We don't want our child carried by some stranger who sees this as a job. You're my sister. You understand our values." Our values. That's when I started to feel the weight of where this conversation was heading. Jessica and Ryan were deeply tied to their church community. Conservative. Strict. Appearance-obsessed. I, on the other hand, was the black sheep. The one who never fully fit into that mold. I had moved out right after college, working a small finance job, renting a one-bedroom apartment, dating casually, a life they barely tolerated. "Look," Jessica continued, "we know this is a huge thing to ask. That's why we're willing to compensate you." Ryan reached into a folder and pulled out a piece of paper. $250,000, he said. Tax-free. My breath caught in my throat. $250,000. That was life-changing money for me. Enough to pay off my student loans, get out of my crummy apartment, even consider buying a condo. "You wouldn't have to worry about a thing," Jessica said, her voice dripping with sugar. "We'd cover all medical costs, every appointment, full care. And of course, after the baby's born, you go back to your life." That's a lot," I whispered. "We want you to take time to pray on it," Jessica added. "No pressure," Ryan said, though his smile said otherwise. I left that night feeling like I had just stepped into some bizarre reality show. I spent the next week thinking about it nonstop. The money was tempting, more than tempting. But something felt off. It wasn't just the fact that they were asking me to carry their child. It was the way they presented it. Like they had already made the decision for me. Like my choice was just a formality. And the way Ryan kept looking at me. That subtle glance, like I was being evaluated for more than just my womb. The next time we met, I decided to ask the real questions. We sat at their dining room table. "Okay," I said, "I've been thinking, if I were to do this, how would it even work? I mean, IVF? A clinic?" Jessica hesitated. Ryan cleared his throat. "Actually, that's something we wanted to discuss with you." My stomach dropped. "We've prayed on this too," Jessica said softly. "And we believe the most natural way is the way God intended conception." "What?" Ryan leaned in, his voice lowering as if what he was about to say was perfectly reasonable. "We want to try natural conception." "You mean?" "Yes," Ryan said with complete calm. "You and I would sleep together. Only for the purpose of conception, of course. Purely clinical." My mouth went dry. "Are you insane?" Jessica quickly jumped in. "This isn't about sex. It's about family. IVF is expensive, unnatural, and often unsuccessful. This way is pure." "Pure? You want me to have sex with my sister's husband, and you're calling that pure?" Jessica's face hardened. "Don't be dramatic. We're trying to create life, not have an affair. It would only be a few times. Then everything can go back to normal." Normal? As if anything about this was remotely normal. I stood up from the table, my heart pounding in my chest. "I need to leave." "Don't be rash," Jessica said quickly. "This isn't rash, Jessica. This is insane." Ryan stayed silent, still wearing that same calm, twisted smile. "Think about the money," my sister called after me as I walked toward the door. "You'll never get another chance like this." I slammed the door behind me. And for the first time, I realized just how far my family was willing to go, how far Jessica and Ryan were willing to push to get what they wanted. And this was only the beginning. After that night, I thought maybe, just maybe, they would back off, that they would realize how insane their request was. But people like Jessica and Ryan don't hear no. They only hear delay. 2 days later, Jessica called me. Can we meet? No. Please, just for coffee. 1 hour. No pressure, I promise. I should have said no again. But a part of me, the part that grew up under their constant manipulation, still struggled to fully shut the door. So I agreed. We met at a coffee shop near my office in downtown Austin. Neutral ground. Public. Jessica sat down across from me, dressed perfectly as always. Hair flawless. Nails done. Smile rehearsed. Thank you for coming, she started softly. Say what you need to say. I know you were overwhelmed. We probably pushed too hard. You think? But I also know you're struggling financially. And I don't want you to throw away an opportunity because of fear or pride. Here we go again. The guilt. The money. Jessica, I said firmly, I'm not going to sleep with Ryan. That's not happening. Ever. She exhaled like I was being difficult. You're making this more complicated than it is. No, you made it complicated the moment you suggested that madness. It's just biology, she argued. It's a clinical act for a higher purpose. A higher purpose? You mean your desperation to have a child and maintain your perfect church image? Her eyes flashed. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is you thinking you can throw $250,000 at me and turn me into some weird hybrid of a sister and mistress. Jessica's tone shifted then. Softer. More sinister. You really want to talk about fairness? Because I can make life very uncomfortable for you if you keep refusing. I froze. Are you threatening me? I'm reminding you of your situation. You work a low-paying job. You live in a rental apartment that barely passes inspection. You don't exactly have savings. That's none of your business. Oh, but it is. And it's Ryan's business too. You see, his company has connections. We know people. If you keep saying no, well, who knows what kind of financial pressure might suddenly land on you. Audits, reviews, job instability. These things happen. There it was. The mask fully slipped. Jessica wasn't just trying to guilt me. She was blackmailing me. You're disgusting, I whispered. No, I'm practical. You think the world is fair? Do you think anyone would care if you suddenly lost your job? Could you survive 6 months without income? I'd figure it out. Or you could make all of this very simple. 1 week. A few scheduled visits. And you walk away with enough money to change your life. My stomach turned. I'm not for sale, Jessica. Everyone has a price, she smiled coldly. You're just being stubborn about admitting yours. I stood up. This conversation is over. Don't be foolish, she hissed. This offer won't last forever. Good. The sooner it expires, the better. I walked out of that coffee shop feeling dirty. Not just because of what they were proposing, but because of who my sister had become. Or maybe who she had always been. Over the next week, the pressure didn't stop. I started getting anonymous emails. No names attached. Just little reminders. Student debt piling up? Job security not what it used to be? Rent about to increase? They wanted me to feel trapped. Helpless. Then came Ryan's turn. He showed up outside my office one evening. Uninvited. Unannounced. You've been ignoring our generosity, he said calmly. I've been rejecting your insanity. That's a dangerous path. You're making enemies where you don't need to. Is that a threat? It's advice. This world isn't kind to women in your position. Single. Struggling. 1 bad month and you could lose everything. Then I'll lose everything before I let you turn me into your personal surrogate mistress. Jessica is getting impatient, he continued. And frankly, so am I. We're offering you a way out. A chance to fix your life. My life isn't broken. Your marriage is. His jaw clenched. You'll regret this. No. You will. I left him standing there and went straight home. For the first time, I seriously considered leaving Austin entirely. They had too many connections here. Too many ways to interfere with my job, my finances, my stability. 2 days later, my landlord called. We're raising your rent effective immediately. It wasn't legal, but fighting it would require lawyers, money I didn't have. I knew exactly who was behind it. Ryan. His tech company friends. Jessica's church network. They were tightening the noose. Then came the final blow. My boss called me into his office. I hate to do this, but we're downsizing. Your position's being eliminated. Laid off. Just like that. Perfectly timed. Perfectly orchestrated. I walked out of that building in a daze. No job. No apartment. No safety net. They had me cornered. Or so they thought. Because that night, as I stared at the eviction notice taped to my apartment door, something inside me snapped. I was done playing defense, done hoping they would stop. They wouldn't stop until they owned me completely. If they wanted war, they would get one. After I lost my job and faced eviction, Jessica and Ryan thought they had me exactly where they wanted. They believed I was weak. They believed I was desperate. They believed I would finally give in. They underestimated me. Because while they celebrated my supposed collapse, I started planning. I spent the next 3 weeks playing along. I answered Jessica's texts. We still want to help you. The offer's still on the table. I know. I need time. Of course, she wrote. We'll be here when you're ready. I even answered when Ryan called. Are you reconsidering? He asked, trying to sound supportive. I just need to get through this eviction first. It's overwhelming. Well, remember, once you agree, all these problems go away. What they didn't realize was that while they were tightening their grip, I was quietly cutting every cord they thought they controlled. I sold everything I didn't absolutely need. Furniture, electronics, even jewelry my parents had given me that only reminded me of the poisonous family I grew up with. I pulled cash from my small retirement fund, knowing I'd pay penalties, but not caring. Freedom was worth every dollar. I opened a new bank account under my middle name. I bought a prepaid phone. I contacted a recruiter I knew up in Seattle, someone who owed me a favor from years ago. You still looking for a junior analyst? We are. When can you start? How fast can you move? I asked. 2 weeks, if you're serious. I'm serious. Seattle. Far enough from Texas. Far enough from Jessica. Far enough from Ryan. Far enough from the entire mess. While I played their little game, I packed my apartment piece by piece. Anything I kept fit into 3 suitcases. The rest went to charity or the dumpster. The day before I was scheduled to leave, Jessica texted again. Have you made your decision? I answered what she wanted to hear. I think I'm ready. Can we meet tomorrow to go over everything? Of course. She replied instantly. Ryan and I are so proud of you. You're making the right choice for all of us. I didn't respond. Because by tomorrow, I'd be gone. That night, I stayed up reviewing everything one last time. Plane ticket purchased. New apartment deposit secured. Job contract signed. Everything lined up. At sunrise, I left my keys on the apartment counter and walked out the door for the last time. No tearful goodbyes. No dramatic confrontations. Just silence. I boarded my flight to Seattle, turned off my phone, and threw it into the airport trash can. A symbolic final goodbye to the old life they tried to trap me inside. When I landed, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Light. Free. Untouchable. I checked into a cheap motel while waiting for my apartment to be ready. The job started the following Monday. The recruiter kept his word, paperwork was ready, and orientation was scheduled. Everything was falling into place. The only thing left was waiting for the storm that was about to hit back in Austin. I didn't have to wait long. 2 days later, my work email pinged. The one tied to my new job, the only way anyone might still reach me. It was Jessica. Subject. Where are you? We had a meeting scheduled. You didn't show. Your apartment's empty. No one knows where you went. This isn't funny. Do you have any idea what you're doing? You can't run from your family forever. I stared at the screen and smiled. She finally realized she wasn't in control anymore. An hour later, another email came. Ryan this time. This isn't over. We'll find you. They wouldn't. I made sure of that. Every trace of my old life was gone. New state. New job. New bank. New phone. New lease. The next week was quiet. Then another email from Jessica. Desperation now thick in every word. Please don't do this. You don't understand how much pressure I'm under. The church is watching. My reputation is at stake. People are asking questions. If you don't help us, everything falls apart. There it was. The truth beneath all the manipulation. It was never really about family. It was about appearances. About control. About preserving their perfect little image. They didn't love me. They didn't care about me. They saw me as a resource. A tool. A womb. And now that tool was gone. For the first time in my life, I had all the power. Not because I fought harder, but because I simply left. Sometimes the strongest move isn't fighting back. It's walking away so completely that they can't even reach you to throw the next punch. A month later, I received one final email. Jessica again. Short this time. Cold. Congratulations. You've destroyed your family. No, I didn't destroy anything. They destroyed it the moment they decided that family was something to own, not something to cherish. The thing about people like Jessica and Ryan is that they never believe consequences will touch them. They're so used to manipulating everyone around them that they assume they're untouchable. But when I vanished, everything started unraveling faster than even I anticipated. 3 weeks after settling into my new life in Seattle, I got a call from Ethan, one of the few cousins I still trusted. "You're not going to believe what's happening back here," he said. "Try me." The church found out. Found out what? Everything. The surrogacy plan. The blackmail. The threats. Even the deal Ryan made with those tech guys to push you out of your job. I sat back, stunned. How? Someone leaked your text with Jessica. And the coffee shop conversation? They have audio. Audio? Yeah. That barista you met with Jessica? He recognized you from the church community. He recorded everything and turned it in after your disappearance. I couldn't help but smile. For once, the suffocating web Jessica and Ryan spun around themselves was strangling them instead. Ethan continued, barely able to contain his own amusement. The church elders kicked them out. Ryan lost his board position at the software company. And Jessica? She's a pariah. Completely isolated. Half the congregation won't even speak to her. What about my parents? They're trying to distance themselves, claiming they had no idea, which is probably half true. I sat in silence for a few moments, letting it sink in. You okay? Ethan asked. More than okay, I finally replied. You want me to send you the file? The recordings? No need. I don't need to hear it to know it's real. This was better than revenge. Because I hadn't lifted a single finger. They did it to themselves. Over the next few months, the updates kept trickling in. Ryan's company initiated a full internal investigation. Once the evidence surfaced that he leveraged company contacts to orchestrate my firing, his termination was swift and public. Jessica, once the shining face of the church's women's ministry, was blackballed from every committee and social circle that had once kissed her feet. Her carefully curated image shattered overnight. They tried to pivot, of course. Jessica spun news stories, calling me unstable, accusing me of abandoning family, painting themselves as victims of slander. But nobody was buying it anymore. The truth had finally eclipsed the narrative. Then, one morning, I received an unexpected letter, mailed to my new apartment. No return address. But I recognized the handwriting immediately. Jessica. Inside was a long, rambling apology, if you could even call it that. I was desperate. You don't understand how much pressure I was under. Everything was falling apart, and I needed to control something. I never meant to hurt you. I was only trying to save my marriage and my reputation. You could have helped me. Instead, you destroyed us. Still the same twisted logic. Not an ounce of real accountability. She was sorry for the consequences, not for the actions that led there. At the bottom, she wrote, if you have any decency left, you'll forgive me. We're still family. I folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope, and threw it into the trash. We're not family. Family doesn't do what she did. Family doesn't try to own you. Around the same time, I got promoted at work. Seattle quickly became home. New friends. New relationships. No constant surveillance. Freedom. The kind of freedom I never thought I'd taste growing up under people like Jessica. A few months after that, Ethan visited Seattle for the first time. We sat at a small bar overlooking the water, nursing drinks and laughing like we hadn't in years. You really disappeared, huh? He said, grinning. Had to. They still blame you, you know. Of course they do. That way they don't have to face what they've done. You ever feel guilty? I thought for a moment. Not anymore. You could have gone to the police, you know, and give them the satisfaction of painting me as vindictive? No. Watching them self-destruct was far more satisfying. We toasted to that. Sometimes the best revenge is nothing. No public spectacle. No screaming match. No legal war. Just walking away. Just letting their lies rot on their own. Jessica and Ryan spent their lives building a castle on sand. The moment I stepped off the foundation, everything collapsed. For a long time after everything collapsed, I thought that was the end of it. I truly believed Jessica and Ryan had finally faded from my life permanently. But manipulators like them don't just vanish. Even when their empire crumbles, they still cling to whatever scraps remain, desperate for one last grasp at control. And sure enough, a year after I started my new life in Seattle, they found a new way to drag me back into their mess. It started with an email. This time, not from Jessica or Ryan directly. It came from a lawyer. Subject: surrogacy legal inquiry. I froze when I saw the subject line. Surrogacy? The email detailed that Jessica and Ryan had hired another surrogate. This time through a legitimate agency. But something had gone wrong. The surrogate, a woman named Lauren, had filed a lawsuit against them for breach of contract, for coercion, for emotional abuse. The agency terminated their agreement. The pregnancy never even started. Jessica and Ryan were now being investigated for multiple ethical violations. And here's where it got even more twisted. They were trying to drag my name into it. The lawyer claimed I was originally consulted as a potential surrogate and that I might possess critical testimony relevant to the ongoing investigation. They wanted to use my prior interactions to somehow shift blame, to suggest that I was always a willing participant who simply changed her mind. I was furious, but not surprised. This was classic Jessica. Weaponize every relationship. Twist every fact. Rewrite history. I forwarded the email to my attorney in Seattle, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Karen who I trusted completely. "We'll shut this down before it even breathes," she said confidently. "They're desperate. But desperation doesn't hold up in court." And she was right. Within weeks, Karen filed an affidavit detailing the full extent of the blackmail, coercion, and harassment I endured back in Austin. We submitted copies of text messages, audio recordings Ethan provided, even the original contracts they tried to shove in front of me. We weren't playing defense anymore. The state investigator called me personally after reviewing our submission. "I'm deeply sorry you went through this," she said. "Honestly, your testimony may have just saved several other women from being trapped by them." "They've done this before?" I asked. "We believe so. You're not their first target, just the first who escaped before signing anything legally binding." Hearing that shook me. I had always suspected Jessica and Ryan's depravity, but knowing they had tried to run this same scheme on multiple women, it made my stomach turn. They weren't just desperate for a child. They were predators. The investigation expanded. Their finances were audited. Their membership in what little was left of their church community was permanently revoked. The agency blacklisted them nationwide. No surrogate agency would ever work with them again. Ryan's professional licenses were suspended after the corporate misconduct findings resurfaced. Jessica was publicly named in several legal filings for her role in manipulating not just me, but at least 2 other women who were too ashamed to come forward earlier. For the first time, they weren't just exposed socially. They were exposed legally. There would be no bouncing back from this. Ethan called me after the news broke. "You reading all this?" he asked. "Every word. You finally got full justice. I didn't even have to fight for it. Their own behavior buried them. You good?" I paused. I thought I would feel vengeful. I don't. I feel done. And I was. Done carrying any weight attached to them. Done wondering when they might strike again. Done allowing even a shred of space in my life for their toxicity. A week later, Karen called. "Official notice just came through," she said. "You are completely and permanently cleared of any involvement. They cannot contact you, subpoena you, or involve you in any future litigation." "Thank you," I whispered, holding back unexpected tears. "You earned this freedom," she said softly. "Most people never escape families like that." "I know," I replied, "and that's why I'll never go back." For the first time in my life, the chapter wasn't just closed, it was sealed. No backdoors, no dangling threats, no emotional blackmail waiting around the corner. Just freedom. Real, permanent, unshakable freedom. You grow up thinking family means unconditional love. That no matter what happens, blood ties hold stronger than anything. That your siblings, your parents, your people, they'll always have your back. I believed that too, until I learned that sometimes the people who share your blood are the ones most eager to drain it. Years passed after everything collapsed, and I slowly built a life that was finally mine. No manipulation, no whispered threats, no hidden agendas, just peace. Real peace. The kind I didn't even know existed when I lived under Jessica's shadow. Seattle became my home. The city, the rain, the cold, it was nothing like Texas. And that was exactly why I loved it. It was different. It was distant. It was freedom. I advanced in my career faster than I ever expected. Promotions came quickly, not because I chased them, but because I finally had the mental space to excel without constant emotional warfare draining me. I made new friends. Real ones. People who valued me for who I was, not for what they could squeeze from me. I even found love again, something I once thought was impossible after everything Jessica and Ryan put me through. My partner, Olivia, knew my entire story. I told her everything early on, not to scare her off, but because I refused to ever live in secrecy again. And you know what she said when I finished? "They don't deserve to exist rent-free in your head anymore." Simple, honest, and exactly right. We bought a home together last year. Small, quiet, ours. Not filled with ghosts. Not built on guilt, but built on mutual respect. Every once in a while, someone from back in Austin reaches out. A distant relative, a former family friend. They all ask the same question, in different ways. Do you ever miss them? Do you regret cutting off your family? Isn't family supposed to be forever? And my answer never changes. Family isn't who shares your blood. Family is who shows up without strings attached. Jessica and Ryan were never my real family. They were predators dressed as kin. And walking away from them wasn't losing family, it was finding myself. I still think about my younger self sometimes. That scared, manipulated woman sitting at their dining room table, hearing their disgusting proposal, hearing them try to sell me on the idea that I could trade my body and my dignity for a check. I think about how easily I could have said yes, how close I came to letting them own me forever. And then I remember, I didn't say yes. I walked. I chose freedom. I chose me. There is a terrifying beauty in realizing you are allowed to walk away. You don't have to stay loyal to people who abuse you just because you share DNA. You don't owe anyone your body. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone your suffering. The world will tell you that choosing yourself is selfish. But that's because the people saying it benefit from your sacrifice. Let them call you selfish. Let them paint you as the villain in their stories. As long as you get to live in peace, they can say whatever they want. Jessica and Ryan will likely spend the rest of their lives rewriting the story in their heads. Blaming me. Blaming the church. Blaming the system. Blaming anyone but themselves. And that's fine. They can have their fiction. I have my reality. Today, I wake up every morning knowing that my life is fully mine. Every decision, every relationship, every piece of joy earned on my terms. No more walking on eggshells. No more bargaining for affection. No more waiting for the next explosion. Just peace. And that is worth everything I lost to get here. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too.